religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Everyone has a story. Everyone has pain. When we strip away our masks, we find that we're really all the same. It's those little things we say and do that can mean so much. It's a smile, a connection, a simple love and touch. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Every day. Today I'm gonna ask myself, what more can I do? What can I do now? To be a radiant child of God and let my love shine through. I'm gonna let my heart be my guide to give the best of me. I'm gonna share my joy, share my love, give it boundlessly. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Every day. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Then Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came running after. She said, Jack, tell me, what can I do to help ease your mind? He said, hold my hand and just be kind, and I know I'll be fine. It is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling, lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Every day. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Every day. My religion is kindness, and I'm gonna practice it every day.
For those of you who are familiar with Karen Drucker, that is My Religion is Kindness. I know most of you are really familiar with her chants and her self-care music, but that was a lively one. Good morning and welcome to Unity of the Hill Country's virtual Sunday gathering. We're here in Kerrville, Texas, where we've been snowed in and overwhelmed, and hopefully everyone's warm and cozy today in some place of shelter if you're still not able to be in your own home. Let's take a moment and, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Beverly Pryor. I'm the minister here. Let's just take a moment and get centered in prayer. If you will, close your eyes with me. And together, let's take a deep breath in and just slowly release that breath. We're just dropping into this moment, using our breath as an anchor to bring us into this moment and this time. We open our hearts together in this moment, whether you're watching live or you're watching later on a recording. In this moment, we are all one. We set our intention together in gratitude, appreciation, joy, and love. We claim this time together for the highest and best for everyone concerned. We know that we'll be able to come away from this moment taking our very own blessing, acknowledging truth within ourselves as we are present to that awareness of the living, thriving, indwelling Christ alive in each and every one of us. For this truth and so much more, we simply say thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is. Our opening statement for Unity of the Hill Country in Kerrville, Texas is there's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good, the omnipotent. That's been a stretch this week while we've been dealing with Mother Nature as having a lot of power and influence over the circumstances in our lives. But if we are intentional, we can keep coming back to that higher truth that there's only good and there's only God in every situation. For us in these challenging times, we really have to remind ourselves to look for it. Just keep looking for it because it's there and we will find it. We have a few quick announcements for you this morning. We were to have our annual meeting, our virtual annual meeting, which is the first time that I'm aware that we've ever done it that way. And we decided to postpone it because a number of people are still challenged with internet service, with being comfortable in their homes, dealing with plumbing or what burst pipes, different things. We've come through this week together, but we have had this week to have the office closed. Many of you have spoken with Mandy this week. We've had the board meeting to be pushed out for a week, and we've decided to push out the virtual annual meeting. It will be immediately after this service on Sunday, the 28th, which is in 1 week. And then in a couple of weeks, we have Reverend Tomas, which I call him Tommy because he's my bud from field licensing program, Tomas de Leon, who was with us last year. You might remember, really joyful guy, and his wife came up from far. He is the minister at Unity of the Rio Grande Valley. And so he is going to be with us, as well as his daughter, who is the music director there. And so they will both join us to do this, the message and the special music. And today we're very blessed to have Claudia Carawan with us again. She's one of our favorites. She's just a joy. If you don't recall her by name, you will recognize her when you see her beautiful face and her shining light. And she's really talented singer, songwriter. She has been nominated and received numerous Posse Awards. She doesn't simply sing Posse music, which we love and enjoy here, but she's also, and you can tell this whenever she starts performing, the richness of her voice. She also sings soul and jazz. So it's very nice to have her back with us this week, as always. So let's take a moment now. We've centered in prayer, but we want to return to prayer because Unity, as most of you know, was founded on prayer. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore began prayer circles in their home as a way to help people to understand the phenomenal power of prayer and how it is activated in the world by our thoughts and our words and our actions. And Myrtle was healed from a lifelong challenge with tuberculosis, which was just unheard of in that time. And so she and Charles really began to study all the religions of the world. And that's how we came up with our 5 basic Unity principles. It's that thread that runs through belief systems and truth, regardless of how it's organized and put together out there in the world with doctrine and credo. There's still truth with a capital T. So in this moment, let's take that capital T truth into our time of prayer. And if you have something on your heart or on your mind in this moment, just take a moment and just send it forth. You don't have to have written it down on paper. You don't have to have emailed it or called it into the office or Silent Unity, which all of those things are available to you. But in this moment, put your prayer out and we'll join together and we'll include it, because there's no difference in prayer, whether your prayer is for health or well-being, finances, for relationship. There's none too small or too great for that absolute good we know in the universe and we call God. Jesus said he called Father, Abba, very affectionately. And that's how we pray, knowing that this truth is always working to manifest in our life all the good that's available. So let's take a moment now and together close our eyes. And let's take a deep breath in. And once again, a little pause at the top of that breath and slowly release. As we release that breath, we just allow all the hurry and the busyness and the distractions of the morning to just fall away. We allow our attention and our focus and our consciousness to drop into this now moment. And together we affirm for every request. We affirm absolute good. We affirm truth with a capital T, regardless of circumstances. We've all been through a lot of circumstances this week that were challenging and unpleasant, disappointing. We're just letting go of all of that circumstantial evidence of anything other than absolute good. And together we're affirming, knowing, we're claiming our good as Jesus, our way shower and our teacher, master teacher, taught us to say, it is done. We claim our good in this moment. We claim it for those we love. We claim it for those we don't even know, but we know they have challenges today. We claim this absolute good, this truth, for the highest and best for all concerned. And for this truth, we simply say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. The mission and vision of Unity of the Hill Country in Kerrville, Texas is to live consciously, celebrating the divine potential in all. Divine potential doesn't mean it's not manifest, it doesn't exist. It means the awareness that it exists is the potential for the awareness to come to life, for us to realize who we are, expressions of that divine, that Christ within, just as Jesus taught us to be. Our daily word reader today is going to be our lovely Mandy Scott. Mandy, are you there?
I'm here, loud and clear.
Wonderful.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, February 21st, and the daily word today is let go, let God. I do what is mine to do and release the rest. Over the years, I have accepted more and more responsibility as I have grown in maturity and experience. I have also grown in wisdom as I am able to discern what is mine to do. I have learned what to take on and what to leave for others. I have also learned not to exhaust myself by taking on too many commitments. Perhaps most important, I know when to use my will and determination to make things happen and when to let go. I recall times in my life when I felt frustrated that events did not go or unfold the way I had expected. I can now see how they unfolded perfectly, often in ways better than I could have imagined. I now let go easily, trusting in that perfection. And from Acts 17:28, in him we live and move and have our being. As even some of our own poets have said, for we too are his offspring.
Thank you, Mandy. That was beautiful.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. Thank you for always being prepared and ready to jump in and read when we don't have someone lined up. Actually, we did have Jack lined up, but he was going to do it and then give his president's report after the board meeting. But since we moved the president's report out a week, then we also are moving Jack out a week as far as his obligations to us. So
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so we're going to now get to experience Claudia Carawan. Sorry for stammering over your name, Claudia. But I wanted to mention too that, hopefully one of these days we'll get her lined up to also do the message and the music together, because she is an inspirational speaker who has, after meeting Maya Angelou, has developed some really great talks. And she's just got so many gifts, and she does women's retreats and gives lessons. And we're just really excited to discover more and more of her gifts and talents. Claudia?
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Reverend Beverly. I appreciate that. So greetings from Richmond, Virginia, where it's bitter cold, but at least the sun is shining. Want you all to know that you've been in our hearts and prayers this week and will continue to be. And as I was choosing music for today, I was thinking, what's the message that I would want to hear if I was feeling cold and without power? And it's this one right here. I was born to live life fully, to let go of regret, to walk the highway of life without a safety net, to follow something even bigger than my pride, to show up with courage even when I'm trembling inside. And I will not worry about what others think of me. And I will not be shackled by the chains of conformity. I'll break the mold set in the past, keep pushing till I'm free at last. I follow the path of my heart and make my life a work of art. You can call me fearless. I am fearless. I follow the road to adventure everywhere. I let the top down and let the wind tangle up my hair. Hitch my dreams onto the brightest star. On the trapeze of life, I throw my heart right over the bar. On the other side of fear, there lies euphoria, and a better understanding of who you really are. I'll push outside the comfort zone, remembering I'm not alone. I follow the path of my heart and make my life a work of art. You can call me fearless. I am fearless. I push outside the comfort zone, remembering I'm not alone. I follow the path of my heart and make my life a work of art. You can call me fearless.
I am fearless. I'm stronger than I realized. I am fearless. I am fearless.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That was just beautiful. And a perfect preparation for our time of meditation. After this week, some of us may not feel very fearless. We might have leaned into moments of fear and frustration and forgotten to breathe. But let's take a moment now and close our eyes together. And if you will, just sit with your spine straight, your feet on the floor, uncrossing your ankles and your arms, allowing yourself to be open and receptive. Together, let's take a deep breath in and slowly release that breath. The breath connects us, mind, body, and spirit. It also connects us one with another. In this moment, we are one. And in truth, we are always one. We can always take a deep breath and borrow from one another the reserves. We feel a little frazzled and out of sorts. We can fearlessly reach out from our heart, from our minds. Together, let's take another deep breath in. And this time, as we're breathing out, with intention and consciousness, release fear, frustration, anger, anything that might have accumulated this week, any stress. Just let it go. As Mandy was reading with the daily word, let go and let God. Another deep breath in. And with this breath, let go and let God. Breathe it out slowly. Centered in our breath. Connected wholly, mind, body, and spirit. Connected with this extended community. This precious family we've created. We allow our awareness to go to that connection. We take our mind out of the details and the circumstances. Raise our attention, our consciousness up to that which is more than a moment in time, more than an experience, more than an individual. We raise our awareness to that living, that indwelling Christ within, that creative energy within each and every one of us, waiting to be called upon, waiting to be tapped into, always alive, always well. Let's take another deep breath in, just filling up with that truth, with that awareness. And as we breathe out, we release anything unlike that divine intention, a true Christ nature, as we spend a moment in the silence. Together we take a deep breath in. And with that breath, we bring our focus, our attention back to this moment and this time. But we bring back with us that awareness, the alive, the living, the indwelling Christ that we are. Each and every one of us, unique in our own way, that perfect expression of the indwelling Christ. For this truth, for the living experience of the indwelling Christ, we say thank you. And so it is.
Alleluia, 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 alleluia,
So this week, our talk is Stronger Than Circumstance. And I know this week there have probably been moments when all of us have not felt stronger than the circumstance. We've not felt stronger than no water and no heat and no power and no way to get out of the house and possibly no food reserves. Who knows? We've been through so many things, and after the snow began to thaw, many of us have dealt with burst pipes, damage to our homes, not being able to be in our homes right now. There are just so many things that we've been coping with and dealing with individually and collectively as a community. People have been stranded, people have not had food or shelter, and it's a natural disaster, and human beings have risen to the occasion. They've reached out and they've done for one another. They've invited people in their homes. They've come together to step beyond the circumstances. And we are always stronger than our circumstances. We just have to get our head up, as they say, out of the weeds. That's a phrase friends of mine in the restaurant industry would always say. Got to get out of the weeds into all the little details of what's happening and be able to see from a higher perspective. And not just higher consciousness, but just across, when we can get our eyes above all the little details, we can start seeing patterns and how things are working together for our good, always, in all ways. We've been speaking for, since the first of the year about the spiritual gifts that each and every one of us have within us wholly. Now, balance is an important thing, right? We know that some of these things we enjoy expressing, and we have a natural tendency to use some of our spiritual gifts more freely than others. But all of the spiritual gifts are within each and every one of us. And it's how do we express those spiritual gifts? And are we coming from that higher perspective when expressing the spiritual gift? Or are we down in the circumstances? Are we in the weeds, so to speak? This week, we're talking about strength as a spiritual gift. And these 12 powers were outlined in a book by Charles Fillmore, who was one of the founders of Unity. He and his wife, Myrtle, who I spoke of earlier, who had the healing experience. And the book was called The 12 Powers of Man. And it's one of the classic Unity books, but it's greatly misunderstood. I even hear a lot of spiritual teachers just kind of dismissing it because they don't really fully understand that it's meant to be an encouragement to each one of us, that we have all of these gifts within us. And when we need the power, the gift that it represents, we can tap into it. It's our attention and how we place our focus that allows us to make and take advantage of this. What he says about strength is the strength here discussed is not physical strength alone. He's not saying it isn't physical strength included. It's not physical strength alone, but mental and spiritual strength. And we know from sports performance psychology and all other positive psychology veins that mental strength has everything to do with the physical outcome. There's so many studies that prove this. But also spiritual strength is an important component. He says all strength originates in spirit, and the thought and the word spiritually expressed brings manifestation. So strength from that standpoint of might is limited. Strength from the standpoint of that spiritual knowing, strength from truth with a capital T, is unlimited. Now, physical strength, as shown here, is important for all of us. We want to take care of our body temples. We want to make sure that we are strong enough to do those things that we're meant to do. But it's not everything. And it's sometimes all we really perceive about strength is brute force. And force has nothing to do with strength at all. In the book that I've been referencing by Dr. Reverend Paul Hasselbeck and Cher and Bill Holton, it's called Power Up Your Life. And it gives a little bit more contemporary explanation than the 12 Powers of Man. Charles Fillmore's books are a little bit difficult for people to read a lot of times. And a lot of people will say, well, that's because, you need to get in the consciousness or whatever. It takes time to develop the awareness. That's all true. However, I think that a lot of his books are also essays that were originally lectures. So it helps for me when I'm reading Charles Fillmore, if I think of it in my mind as I'm listening to a lecture, and then it kind of falls together a little bit better. But what he says about strength in not Charles Fillmore, but in the Power Up Your Life book, it says the power to be resilient. Resilience is so important. The Heart Math Institute that we learned, remember, we've done this meditation a number of different times where you have something in your head and you move it to your heart. They study the power of the heart, the heart rate variability, which is a good indicator of how healthy we are, not just physically, but also emotionally, that we can choose to regulate the physiology through our mind. And we can do that. We all know we've needed to lower our blood pressure at the doctor's office or slow down our heart rate if it seemed to be getting a little bit fast. We know that we can regulate these things in the physiology through breathing and through intention. That's resilience, where you know that you have power, you have dominion over your life, over your physical body. But it's not just resilience, it's endurance and persistence and staying the course, which is what we call steadfastness and perseverance and being mentally tough. And mentally tough does not mean harsh. If that triggers you a little bit, mentally tough, that doesn't mean like I'm tough on other people or I'm tough on myself. It means that I have a focus mentally, I have clarity, and I have a focus. That's the toughness, not tough as in brawny or, force or power. That's not what we're talking about. When we're talking about strength, we're not talking about power. We're not talking about force. There's a book Dr. David R. Hawkins wrote called Power versus Force. And I can't really go into all the details of it right now, but you might have seen, because I've shared it a number of times, the emotional scale and how more positive emotions go up the scale and allow us to function at a higher level. Whereas when we're moving down into the lower emotions, that's when we get tripped up and we struggle more. Now, we're going to have those lower emotions. It's where we spend most of our time that is the true indicator of resilience and persistence and endurance and our ability to persevere. In Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31, this is a chapter where they're talking about messages, Enoch and Moses and different ones. It says, but those who wait for the Lord shall renew your strength. Those who wait for the Lord. Waiting for the Lord does not mean sitting around wondering, okay, where's my sign? Waiting for the Lord is getting still with intention, meditating, doing your quiet time, reading, opening your heart and your mind. That's waiting for the Lord, waiting for the awareness of that indwelling Christ to connect with you, with who you are, to become a part of your understanding of how you live and move and have your being. He goes on to say, meaning those who wait for the Lord and renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings like eagles. Means you can get that higher perspective. You can see things from that higher point of view. And they shall run and not be weary. When you know you're following divine guidance, you don't get weary, you don't get tired. And they shall walk and not faint, meaning the endurance, that follow through, the persistence, the endurance, that ability to be steadfast when you wait upon the Lord, when you wait upon that connection, that understanding of the truth of who you truly are in this world. Spend your time doing this. If you're not already meditating and spending time in prayer for others, it's okay to pray for yourself, absolutely. But praying for others, being in meditation, it's so powerful. It will take you to places you've never been before. In Power Up Your Life, they write that underdeveloped strength shows us the inability to stick with a project or a goal. So you see the girl here, she's working on her computer, but then she picks up her phone. It's distracted. You're not really, you don't know why you're here and what you're meant to be doing. So you just do this and that, and you leave things unfinished, and you just don't make a commitment because you haven't decided who you are in this world. But who you are in this world is love. Who you are in this world is an expression of God. I'm telling you, this is the truth of your being. You are an expression of God. You allow yourself to become connected with the truth of the indwelling Christ. Strength is limitless. It's a fountain that will never go dry as long as you understand who you are. As long as you spend your time, you make that commitment to your prayer and meditation time. And meditation is not complicated. It can be sitting quietly, just letting your mind be still. It's very simple. There are a lot of practices, mindfulness practices, that all you're doing is listening to the drip of the water or the buzz of the air conditioner. There are ways to let your mind be still that are not complicated. They're not even really spiritual, because when we quiet our mind, spirit comes alive. That truth, that Christ living within you has room to, I don't want to say explode, but to come forth into your awareness so that you really can understand who you are in this world. And you are divine. You are love. This is the truth of your being. It's why you're here. Now, sometimes we can get a little bit too far in our idea of strength, right? He calls it the egocentric. That's when we become a little more stubborn. And that word I was saying before, we're not talking about being forceful or obsessive. We're not talking about insisting on having things our way, lacking empathy, or just forging ahead regardless. That's the worldly view of strength, right? That guy who just has to have it his way, or woman, or child. It's one of those things that we learn to temper in ourselves as we explore wisdom. And as we understand that we're all one. So there's no win-lose. If you're in a situation where you think you have to win and someone else has to lose, you are also losing. You are, because we're in a consciousness from that higher perspective where it's win-win. If you win, I win. And if I win, you win. There's no loser. There's only love. There's only grace. In John 20:29, this is where Jesus, this part of the story, and I want to give you a little context. So Jesus, this is after the crucifixion. He's already been resurrected. Mary Magdalene has seen him, and she's told the disciples, he's visited the disciples, but Thomas wasn't there. So you know that Thomas, the disciple Thomas, is known as Doubting Thomas. And Doubting Thomas was like, wait a minute, let me see the nails in your hands, and let me check you out. Let me see the punctures on your side. And Jesus said to him, have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe. This is the key to everything. What do you believe? What do you believe? If you refuse to believe that you're divine, if you refuse to believe that you are an expression of God, you'll never come to know this. You first have to let it in. You have to believe it for yourself. And sometimes you just have to, as Mary Morrissey used to say in our programs that I've done with her, you have to borrow my belief. I believe because I know that you are divine. And if you can't let that in for yourself right now, borrow my belief or look over at your spouse. You can borrow one another's belief. You have to see the divine. You have to believe it first. But don't wait until you see it to believe it. That goes back to also one of Wayne Dyer's books. You'll see it when you believe it. It's a very good book. But blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe. So maybe when you look around at these circumstances, you don't think you're stronger than your circumstances. You're just looking, your eyes, your point of view, you're in the weeds, you're in the circumstances, you're in the physical nature, rather than picking your eyes up above it. That's when you can see beyond, and it reflects what it is you truly believe. I don't know if you're familiar, it's been decades since this was a popular book, The Artist Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity by Julia Cameron. But she said is, I learned when hit by loss to ask, what's next? Instead of why me? What's next? That keeps you looking from that higher point of view, not just looking into the situation and saying, why me, why me? A doctor friend of mine in Dallas, back in 2014, I think it was, I had a brain aneurysm, and I had siblings who died from that very same condition. But I didn't. I suffered, but I didn't die, and I have no neurological damage. But it was a struggle because they couldn't diagnose it or whatever. Anyway, my friend, the doctor, said to me, "But you never asked why me." And I'm like, "What? Why would I ask why me?" He said, I would ask why me. But that's just not why me. I mean, that's such a useless question because there's no answer. Why me? But what's next? What, knowing what I know and seeing what I see, what's next if I take it from that higher point of view? Why is just never a good question to ask. Not why me, but why anything. What is next? Maybe ask how. What's that next step and how am I going to do it? But get beyond the circumstances because you're stronger than that. You are stronger than the circumstances. I want to tell you this story, and I put this image up here because I want you to kind of take in this image. So there was this minister who was assigned to a new church, and he and his wife relocated to Brooklyn, New York. And this was an older church, had been around 95 years. When he arrived, he was very excited about his assignment, but when he arrived, he realized that, oh, we're coming on our big anniversary event, and the building is really in a state of disrepair. So he gathered some resources and he went about repairing some issues with the drywall and this, that, and the other. And he felt really good about the way that it was coming together, but they were still about a week or 10 days out. And he had a few more things on that punch list that he wanted to get accomplished, and he had resources lined up. But there came a big snowstorm. Sound familiar? And so after a few days, when the snow began to melt and he was able to get back to the church, he went in, and in the sanctuary where they were going to hold their big celebration, he looks behind the altar and there's drywall that's fallen down because there was a leak. So when the snow began to melt and it was pooled right there, it damaged where they had just repaired it. And they'd lost a week because of the storm. You can relate, right? And so he felt so sad and dejected. He called his wife and he said, I'll be home a little bit later. I need to kind of clean up what I can, but I don't know what we're going to do about the repair. So he cleaned it up and he heads home and he's walking and he comes across a flea market. And he finds at the flea market this big, beautiful tablecloth. And he thought, oh, well, maybe I could just cover up the hole. And he unfolded it and he looked at it, and it was big enough and it was thick enough, and it had this nice emblem on it of a globe with wings, as you can see here. This is not the exact one. This is something I came up with off the internet. But he thought, well, that will really serve the purpose. That sends the message that I want to send. This is such a divine intervention, right? I've got my tablecloth. And so the next day, no, that whole evening, he found the tablecloth and he's starting to walk on, and he sees this lady standing there. She's very upset and frustrated. And he realizes she missed her bus. And now she's going to have to wait in the cold because it was still cold, even though the snow was beginning to melt. And she was going to have to wait in the cold. So he said, look, come inside. I'm going to hang this tablecloth anyway. So I may as well do that tonight. Come inside and get warm until your next bus comes, because it was, half hour, 45 minutes the evening. The buses run a little bit more slowly. So he goes about hanging the tablecloth with this emblem on the wall. And the lady's sitting there and her mouth falls open and she makes her way up to the front of the church, just mesmerized by this tablecloth. And the minister says, is everything okay? And she said, I made that tablecloth. I used to live in Iraq, and before Saddam Hussein took over and I was married and I had this family and I made this tablecloth and I stitched every little bit of it myself. And then my husband and I needed to escape, but we got separated and I was arrested and put in jail. And I was told that my husband died. And now I see this tablecloth and I even see where I had embroidered my initials in the corner. And so he says, "Oh, would you like to have the tablecloth? I'd be happy to give it to you." And she said, "No, it's right where it needs to be, but thank you." And, she was tearful and all these memories were coming up and he felt such compassion for her. He said, "Look, let me just go ahead and drive you home. I don't want you sitting here waiting any longer. I'm going to take you home." So he took her to her apartment and he said, "Good evening." And the next day was the big celebration, or within the next few days. So they had the big celebration and the tablecloth remained on the wall and everybody had a great time. The celebration went beautifully. And after the celebration, as people are leaving, there's a man still sitting up front, just staring forward at the wall. And he goes up and he says, "Hi, I'm the minister, and I hope you enjoyed our celebration. Is everything okay?" And the man's sitting there and he has tears running down his face. And he said, "That tablecloth." And he said, "Yes, isn't it beautiful? I found that at a flea market." He said, "My wife made that tablecloth. I see on the corner, those are her initials. I know that's the one that she made." He said, "But we were separated trying to get out of Baghdad. And I was told that she died. And I'm just having all these feelings and these very strong feelings." And the minister's just looking at him dumbfounded, can't believe it. And so the minister calls his wife over and they talk for a moment. He said, "Sir, please come with us." And so the minister and his wife took the man to the lady because he knew where she lived, because he had taken her home just a few nights before. And this couple who had been separated, but never given up on one another, never let go of the love that was between them. That she opens the door and they stand there and they just begin to cry. And there's hugging and kissing and they can't believe it. And this reuniting happens. Their strength was so far beyond circumstances. All of these things that had happened, all the things that they were told that they believed were true, turned out not to be true. And they were reunited and lived the remainder of their life together. What a beautiful story. And these things come together if we allow the universe to work on our behalf. There's nothing that can't be overcome. There's no reuniting that can't happen. There's no overcoming that won't come forth. So strength operates on multiple levels of consciousness, but in the book Power Up Your Life, they talk about 4 levels of consciousness. Of course, there's the unconscious level, which is where our beliefs are in there. Some things that we've heard as a child, we don't even know are in there. Some things are collective consciousness. There are all kinds of ways that we're being influenced by our unconscious or subconscious, as sometimes it's referred to. But we're unconsciously acting upon beliefs that we didn't even choose ourselves. And then there's conscious strength. We're relative to our senses, our 5 senses. So this is how this beautiful couple, each in their own separate way, survived all these years through their 5 senses. They knew things they needed to do to get things done. And then the other conscious strength is on our personality, our attitudes, our beliefs that we choose, right? This couple chose to believe in one another and to hold on to the love that they had between them. But then there's that conscious strength that's beyond, and that's what we call the super consciousness. It's your true identity. It's your Christ nature. Your authentic self lives in this higher point of view with your eyes like eagle's wings, your eyes above all the circumstances, that allows you to be stronger than any circumstance. Divine law and principle. Principle is one of those words we use in unity also for God. This is where God expresses as each and every one of us. Resilience is so key. It's the positive capacity of people to cope with stress and adversity. Strength, resilience. When we use the heart math techniques and we intentionally calm ourselves down, when we understand that we feel our feelings and we're going to feel the frustration, we're going to feel anger, we're going to feel disappointment. But when we pull ourselves out of blame and we pull ourselves out of the sensory level experience and we bring our point of view up, we can have those divine interventions, those moments of synchronicity, like the tablecloth on the wall. You don't know where they're going to come from. So in the American Psychological Association's literature, they give 10 ways to build mental strength. Now, these are not spiritual necessarily, but these are ways in which we as human beings build good relationships. I know some of you might even be staying with friends. That's based on a good relationship. They know you need a place to stay while your pipes are getting repaired. You've got that foundation. This is true strength, the ability to be able to accept help when it's offered. It's a beautiful strength. And there was even someone who used to be a part of our community who's living elsewhere who called me this week and said, I want to offer to pay a hotel room for this particular person who I know their house is flooded. I mean, there's reaching out in both ways. But we have to get out of crisis thinking just in the details of it, right? We have to know that there's something. We have to deal with the next thing, but we also have to look simultaneously from that eagle's point of view. We have to accept our circumstances. There's no need to blame anybody, right? We just have to make our next decisions. We have to be decisive. When we make decisions and we take action, especially when we're involving that higher point of view, it keeps us moving. It has momentum. And we can find things out about ourselves. How are we dealing with this? How could I deal with it differently? How could I help myself? It builds self-confidence. The more we make choices that are from that higher point of view, we build our self-confidence and we change our long-term perspective. We begin to develop a hopeful outcome because we see the evidence of that higher point of view that we keep holding our attention to. Even if our focus keeps falling down and we keep bringing it up and it keeps falling down, we keep bringing it up, we keep coming back, we develop a hopeful outlook. We learn. And we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our physical needs in these times. Hebrew 11:1, I've used this so many times because it's with the spiritual gifts series, because now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. This is so key to our lives as spiritual beings, living through this human experience. The conviction of things not seen. We have to look beyond the circumstances. We have to be stronger than the circumstances. So your weekly practice this week is to demonstrate your strength to yourself first. Demonstrate the strength and the resilience that's the truth of your being, because you know who you are. You know you are an expression of God. You know that all things are always working together for good. But we have to be still to maintain this connection and this awareness. We have to listen for the guidance. We have to look for signs, whether it's a big tablecloth on the wall or it's something much smaller that we have to bring our focus to. We have to look for those signs, and we have to believe in who we are, in our divinity, and the divinity in all things. Thank you. Namaste. And now we'll have some more music by our lively and beautiful Claudia Carawan, who, by the way, is also a workshop and retreat leader. I mean, she's got so many gifts and talents. We really appreciate her being with us today. Claudia?
Thank you so much. What an inspiring talk. We will carry that throughout our week for sure. Let's see here. I'd like to share a song that I co-wrote with a good friend this last year, I think inspired by some of the challenges that all Americans have been facing. And it was also somewhat inspired by the time that the two of us, had gone to hear Maya Angelou speak. So I really think a lot of our shared experiences went into this song. The weather forecast says it's looking stormy. The talking heads on TV are giving me the blues. There's always something trying to bring me down, but I'm standing firm on solid ground with my head up and my eyes on the prize. With joy in my heart, I will rise. With a song on my lips, I will rise. I know the truth, it's understood. Nothing's gonna keep me from my good. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise. Like those who came before me, I keep striving to do the work that I'm called to do. As long as I breathe, I'm gonna live out loud and be a rainbow in the clouds with my head up and my eyes on the prize. With joy in my heart, I will rise. With the song on my lips, I will rise. I know the truth, it's understood. Nothing's gonna keep me from my good. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise. They all say the world is headed for trouble, and my Facebook feed is looking kind of grim. Well, bring me down, well, they can try, but when they go low, I'm going high. With my head up and my eyes on the prize. With joy in my heart, I will rise. With the song on my lips, I will rise. We know the truth, it's understood. Nothing's gonna keep us from our good. We will rise, we will rise, we will rise. Sing it with me one time. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise.
Thank you. What a perfect wrapping up and punctuating everything that we talked about today. Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate you being here with us today. So this is our time just to acknowledge, I know we run over a little bit and I apologize. I got into so much detail with my story about the couple because I just love that story. So I had to tell you every little detail. But thank you all for your continued giving and support of Unity of the Hill Country, the Board of Trustees, and I want to express our appreciation. You can give at unityofthehillcountry.org or mail in your check or however works for you on our website or by paper. Every moment of it, prayers, we appreciate everything. So let's bless all of this in this moment with our offertory prayer. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. And we close with the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. So Thanks for being here this week. I know it could have been a challenge for some of you, and I'm glad that you were able to join. We're going to open up now so we can have our community greeting time. I'm going to stop sharing and switch over. And I want to acknowledge the folks who are with us on Facebook. We've got Tina Wynell, we've got Carolyn Bailey and Jay, Bob Thurman, Diana Frobosi, and Connie Lucas. So hello to the friends out there on Facebook. And we want to say hello to Danny and Mark and Gayleen. And hey, George, I see you're online today. Jenny and Gar. You've been in our prayers, and we're glad to know that you're finished with your rehab now. Hetty, there's BK, Kara. Hi, everyone. You can unmute and say hello.
Hello.
Is everyone doing well?
Everything's great now. The sun's out.
The sun is out. Yes, thank goodness. What were you saying, Gayleen?
Doing a lot better than we were.
Yes. And I see Kara wrote, hello all, glad you're safe. Thanks, Rev Bev. Thank you, Kara. Glad you could join us today. All right. Well, let's give Claudia our virtual round of applause. We always love her being with us. You're just
so much.
part of our extended
Yes,
family.
Claudia, amazing.
It was very inspiring today. Thanks for having me. I loved that message, and I loved the story about the tablecloth. Boy, that was I try not to cry when I heard it.
I know.
Life
I
is full
teared
of
up.
lots of twists and turns, isn't it?
Mhm. And how beautiful, I mean, I
Mhm.
just love things like that.
Me too. So I'm taking an online class here on the East Coast. So I'm going to have to sign off. But I did want to take a minute and just say hi to everybody. And please know we are praying for you. We know what it's like to lose power. We're in the hurricane section of the East Coast. But most of those happen during warm weather. And so
Yes.
my husband and I, we just have not, I mean, it's just hard to conceive what you've been through. I'm so proud of you that you're still smiling and you will rise. Don't mess with Texas, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Enjoy your class.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Namaste. Thanks for having me. Call, check on me.
Oh, yeah. Glad to know you're doing well.
Everything's fine. In fact, I got a chance to get out and help some of the neighbors that were lost water. I didn't lose anything. It's froze up overnight, but it thawed out the next day, and we were able to bottle water and pass it to them. So we've had a good time.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost both at one point, but it's all good.
Yep.
We're here.
It'll pass too. So
That's right.
namaste.
Namaste. I love you. Enjoy the